Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the people's channel, home of the BitSquad, the largest and greatest crypto community in all of the interwebs. My name is DZ. You can also catch me at NFT Alpha Show as I'm getting distracted over here. And we come to you Monday through Friday, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about your favorite topics. And today we have the best panel we've ever had in the history of the show. I know I say that often, but you know, this time I actually do mean it. We're going to start on the top right. He's the generator of the incubator, but he's never a hater. We're talking about MacNCheeasy, of course. Then on the bottom right, first time on the show with the perfect amount of stubble. He'll never tell you to sell a biddy, but he's also going to tell you about a disco kitty. It's Oxstacker, also known as Forrest. Then on the bottom left, we have Joe Parys. His eyes are made of lasers, but he's either wearing that hoodie or a blazer. We're talking about Joe Parys, of course. And then he's the top of the XRP hierarchy. And he's at least as tall as 3 elves. But he was gone this morning. He was at C12. We're talking about Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto himself.
Really,
and we're going to be
hard on those rhymes.
Hey, man, I knocked this out in like 40 seconds. All right, we're going to be talking Uniswap. Hey, you know, DZ has bars, as they say. We're going to be talking about Uniswap getting sued. What's going on with that? The Spaceverse. No, this isn't something that Trump made up. The U.S. Air Force is going to make a metaverse. What's up with that? And 50,000 owl JPEGs. Yes, owl JPEGs, pixelated, costing $50,000 after 2 days. What is going on with that? But before we do those topics, we are going to talk about the crypto markets real quick. What is going on? Is the pump back? Are the markets back? It's looking a little bit better. I know I like seeing that 7-day in the green. We have Bitcoin up about 1.5%. Holding above 41,000. We have Ethereum flirting with that $3,100 level. Ben, I'll just bring it to you real quick. You know, we were turning bearish. Things were getting a little ugly. And now, you know, do you think it was just maybe an oversold metric that we're hitting here? Is there, you know, maybe a more of a short-term bullish trend on the way? What's your take on the markets?
I've changed my mind every other day. We're going to the moon. It's official. Everybody buckle up. We're going to all-time highs by the end of April. I'm real excited about it. What is the date? Oh, we only have about a week and a half left. Well, I guess we're just going to have to run it up. I'm just kidding. Look, I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a little bit of a relief rally here, a little bit of a relief pump based on, like, you know, crypto is so complicated. And really markets are complicated because the common sense right now is we're going down. But when the average person starts to believe we're going down, we tend to go up. And so that's where things can get a little tricky. And that's why you see people say things like, oh, when everybody's bearish, you should be bullish and vice versa. But ultimately, the common sense here, what the charts are telling us, what the 4-year cycle is telling us, what everything with the exception of a possible extended cycle is telling us is that we should be heading down. There's no momentum for Bitcoin right now. So I think what you're seeing is just kind of, you know, some reverse action based on sentiment.
Okay. Well, let's get into a little Uniswap, and I kind of want to look at this chart real quick. This is the 1-year chart on Uniswap. They're in the midst of a lawsuit. Look at that yearly chart there. That is it makes me bullish, actually. I kind of want to buy some. Uniswap under $10 seems to be a pretty good deal. We are sitting at $9.47. But a class action lawsuit was just filed against Uniswap. This is against the developers and some venture capital backers of it, as well as the founder. It's a North Carolina resident lost $8,500 worth of Ethereum trading with some obscure ERC20 tokens. This was back in May and June of last year. They basically went down to zero. They lost their money, and they're blaming Uniswap for selling unregistered securities. You know, they named all these people in the plaintiff in the suit. The founder of Uniswap, but they wanted to make sure. Look, the founder saying this is different. The Uniswap, the front end user experience of the Uniswap website is not Uniswap. It's two separate things. Uniswap is just smart contracts that exist on the EVM. We have nothing to do with this. It is decentralized software, essentially. Now, Mac, I kind of want to, you know, you're the incubator head here. You know, this is kind of what you do. You bridge Web 2 and you bridge the Web 3 and you get them to combine together. A lot of people, they don't really understand, you know, what do you mean Uniswap isn't the website? Can you break down, like, how is the website different than the smart contract?
Right. So the smart contract itself, which is the beauty of this, is it's all viewable and you can see these things. But the true intellectual property, like the code base that you see on Uniswap, isn't that code. They're two different things. So if you look at Sushi Swap, right, they're basically a fork of Uniswap, and they took what Uniswap was doing from a smart contract perspective and decided to continue to build on top of that. But now that user interface that you're actually writing, that developers have to build out, that interacts with these smart contracts to make events happen. And in the case of Uniswap, that can be you click a button, you approve, and you decide to transfer one token to another. That's just interacting with these contracts at hand and making it a little bit more friendly from a user interface standpoint. And Uniswap, I mean, their argument from like a separation of the contract versus the user interface, I'm not sure in terms of the validity in that, just in a sense of a business operation. I'm curious. I'm sure they did separate a lot of that, but I think end of the day, their argument is that this tool was built, but that really doesn't have to do with what we created. You can do whatever you want with what we created, and it's up for kind of users and a decentralized manner to build on top of that. I do think it's interesting, though, that a lot of these things where one person gets quote unquote scammed, and now they have a lot of voice in the opinion, right? $8,500 in the grand scheme of crypto is pretty small relative to other people. So like if the $8,500 one holds up, we could be in a little bit of trouble.
All right. Well, Joe, you're no stranger to, aping in on some meme tokens or some gaming tokens or some speculative plays would be a nice way of putting it. A high risk, high reward. Do you have any general advice for people, entering into this space? Hey, I need that 10x. I don't want to try to get something that's going to go up 20% a year. I don't want something that's just going to do a 2x. I'm purposely looking for these high risk speculative plays. I mean, what's just a couple tips you might have, or one or two tips that, if you are going to navigate this space, some that you wish you knew in the beginning?
That's a great question, GZ, and thanks for having me back on the show. Ben, the BitSquad, very honored to be here. And just wanted to say that this is very, very risky business. Okay, cryptocurrency is very risky. There is a lot that you need to learn. So the first tip that I wish that I would have had is somebody tell me, number one, this is really, really risky. And number two, you need to spend a really good amount of time learning how this all works, because there's a lot of moving pieces. As Matt kind of just said, there's a lot of different things happening here. And it looks like to me with this lawsuit, somebody just kind of, maybe saw a video or saw something and wanted to try to get rich quick, like a lot of people do. And then what do? They click the wrong button, and then they buy the wrong token, and that token was not the right token, and then it goes to zero. And so learn from what is happening right now. And the thing that really intrigues me, though, and I guess another tip that I give for people, is that there's a whole new game being played in cryptocurrency, right? I think a lot of people who are new think that Coinbase or some centralized exchange is what crypto is, right? They're just like, oh, well, if it's not on Coinbase, then it doesn't exist. No, there's a lot of these other tokens, whether they're ERC20 tokens, BEP20 tokens, Cardano's got an ecosystem brewing. I mean, there's so many new ecosystems coming that I would just really watch and learn first. And last but not least, this is probably the most important, never risk more than you can afford to lose. I see so many people, they get their head in way too deep. If they only have $10,000 to invest, they put 9,000 of it into the new crypto coin that ends up going down 98%. And then they go, well, why did this happen? It's like, well, I mean, you got to, learn to use some risk management. And also, like I said earlier, understand this is very risky.
Yeah. All right. Now, Forrest, I kind of want to talk to you about some of the key tenets of decentralized exchanges. You're going to have privacy and you're going to have self-custody. Is it possible to, show these meme tokens or show some of these risky coins on a decentralized exchange without sacrificing, privacy and self-custody? Are we always just going to have scammy tokens, is maybe one way of putting it, fraud tokens, risky tokens that, you don't really know the research behind it? Can we separate that from decentralized exchanges, or is that always going to be part of the parcel here?
I mean, I think it's always going to be there. I mean, look at look at Craigslist. Like, can I just go and sue Craigslist because like somebody tried to scam me out of a car like I was trying to sell? I can't go and sue Craigslist. Like, they're just the platform that buyers and sellers are using. Uniswap is really no different. Now, Craigslist is obviously centralized. Coinbase is centralized, but Uniswap is decentralized. But even if you got scammed, like if Uniswap or plenty of centralized exchanges have listed their fair share of scam tokens or rug pull tokens, just because they weren't like necessarily a straight up scam, doesn't mean that you can just go and sue whoever. So many people in the space, unfortunately, when they lose money, regardless of whether it's in a scam or just from making a bad investment, they like to point the finger that way when they really need to turn it around and point the finger at themselves. I think people just don't like to take responsibility for their own money in this space. And unfortunately, other people get blamed for it.
All right. And I want you to hit that like button if you've bought a coin that went to zero. For me, it was a Wizard token. Me and BJ got in on that one. And yeah, Blue Wizard. Yeah, that was a rug pull. That was definitely a rug pull.
That was
so
a great
hit that
experience.
like if you ever bought a rug pull NFT token otherwise. Well, let's talk a little Spaceverse. And can't wait to, Ben, I definitely want to hear your take on this because we're going to force you into the metaverse, whether it's sports, gaming, military, something. We're going to get you in there. But the U.S. Air Force just filed a trademark application for a secure digital metaverse. The U.S. Air Force, they're going to call it the Spaceverse because, why not? This just was sent out from their trademark attorney, Michael Condautis. So this is official. This is, they just filed the Patent and Trademark Office earlier this week, and it's being described as a secure digital metaverse that converges terrestrial and space, physical and digital realities. So we don't know how this is going to look. Ben, I'm kind of interested in your take. Do you see this actually perhaps being a military training vehicle? And also, what do you think about the military budget maybe surpassing some gaming budgets here?
Well, first, I would start off by saying, I guess, metaverse, I guess there's nothing here. I guess
yeah,
this is
there's
just
nothing here.
Yeah,
Just
dream,
like,
and
something called the Air Force. I maybe heard of it before.
We're all here. Like, I tell you what, I was shocked. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I was shocked to see. We had a video go somewhat viral on the Hit Network TikTok, and it was just a conversation me and TJ had about what we're building in Sandbox. The comments on that video were unreal. If you didn't if you were looking for a moment to say like, holy crap, we're still early, go find it's one of our pinned videos on the Hit Network TikTok and read the comments. The mainstream, the gamer, they hate Metaverse and they do not take it seriously. They think it's a joke. Here's what's beautiful about that. I heard all the same stuff about Bitcoin back in 2014, 2015, 2013, especially. Mt. Gox gets hacked. Well, I guess it was February 2014. Mt. Gox gets hacked, and it's over. I thought it was over. That's what people were saying. How stupid I was, and how much earlier I could have even been. So that's what I'd say. First. Now let's actually dig into this. My first thought is this is definitely military training. And I'll tell you this, we had a guy come out here from Team USA. He was on here a while back. He was on the Skull team. He works with the Sports Initiative, which is a Discord that, similar to what we do with the Players Lounge to help get funds to college athletes. Same thing kind of for Olympic athletes through, Discord community and NFTs. And what he said, Skeleton team, not the Skull team, Skeleton team. What he said was so fascinating. Team USA, they use almost all virtual training for the Skeleton team. Almost all virtual training. He said they strap you to a chair because when you're in the Skeleton, it's face down, head first. You can't really mimic that, right, in real life unless you're actually doing it. But to learn the curves of the course, they do it all in virtual. They'll snap all these sensors to them. And, this chair leans back, fully immersive experience. So to think that the military is not going to use the same kind of thing is asinine. I mean, I can see, SEAL Team 6 training here. What really is the difference if it's fully immersive I mean, the difference is you're not getting shot, but in military training exercises, you're also not getting shot. And you can reproduce this probably faster than you can. You can set it back up faster than you can. Like, I've seen SEAL training before where they go into like a fake town and go through buildings and stuff. But guess what? After they do it, they've already done it once. They kind of know where everything is. Well, in Metaverse, you can switch that up. You can put a completely different, plan or blueprint together very quickly. So I think that's where this is going. And if you do not think that this entire world is moving to Metaverse, then you're asleep right now.
Yeah, that definitely could have used that. Maybe even landing in old boy's backyard all those years ago. Maybe wouldn't have crashed. Now, Mac, are we don't want to say his name here. Oh boy. Now, Mac, are we going to start seeing more of a military presence in the popular metaverses now? Do you think that we're going to have a recruitment center in Sandbox? Are we going to have, come join and, do a VR physical fitness test in the Army Recruitment Center in Ape Land? Is that do you see it moving in that direction?
Is the next war going to be in the metaverse? Is the winner of is it going to be entirely in the metaverse where
some would say it already is?
Now, I think that from a recruiting standpoint, I think recruiting and marketing will go where the eyeballs are. It'll flow where there's an opportunity. And if that opportunity finds itself in the metaverse, then I think that we can kind of anticipate that. I don't necessarily think for all the metaverse things, I think it is inevitable, but it still has a ways to go. But we've seen how quickly technology can improve and vastly improve, like just rapidly, especially when major money's involved, which is in the metaverse. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to be marketing there, but I will say, using it as a tool to train just seems like a no-brainer if it's up to par with IRL thing. I don't know if that's necessarily around the corner, though.
On that note, listen to the Michael Saylor Friedman interview. It's like 4 hours long. I'm still in it, but they talk about Moore's Law affecting all these different industries, and now maybe it's affecting training industries. And on that note, Forrest, we know that the Air Force uses flight simulators. Ben brought up, Skeleton Team. They're using simulators. What are some other benefits you might see, using the metaverse for military training?
Yeah, I mean, Metaverse to me, like the way I think of it is it's just a step forward in the immersiveness of our content and the immersiveness of whatever it is that we're consuming. So right now, you're probably viewing this live stream through a little smartphone device that's like, 7 inches wide or whatever, or like a 27-inch screen. Like Metaverse is 360. You're adding in peripherals. That's to me, when I put on a virtual reality headset, you're adding in peripherals. How important do you think, as being in a combat situation, whether you're flying a jet or you're on the ground with a gun, how important do you think peripheral vision is to training? I think it's probably, I'm not a military expert, but I would imagine paying attention to what's going on out of the corner of your eye is very, very important. Not only that, but the ability to move in a 360-degree motion. If you're just training through a screen or you're training in a simulated environment that's not fully immersive, you're not training to the best of your ability. And when you have lives at stake, I think it's incredibly important to be training in as close to a real simulation as possible.
Yeah, we're not in Starship Troopers. We can't just, fix somebody if they get a hole blasted in them here. Now, Joe, are we beginning to see the beginning of an Ender's Game scenario here? Is the whole military going to be filled with teenagers because they have the best, thumb twitch speed connected to their brain? And is this kind of where we are heading, where eventually military is just going to be young people playing video games?
I mean, I don't think that will necessarily happen, but if you look at the, war that's happened in Ukraine, I mean, they were, trying to get as many people as they can. And honestly, I hope we never have to go, that direction where, we're pulling people and trying to get as many people as we can into a war simulation. But truthfully, to me, I think that this whole metaverse thing, Citibank thinks it's going to be a $13 trillion industry. Well, this Air Force coming in now, building their own metaverse, I think that's going to be a big place of where money's coming from. And also, it's going to be giving just a whole new use case to a metaverse. You know, it's really unique and interesting to see like what's going to be happening next with this. But, you know, do I think a lot of teenagers getting interested in this? And, you know, perhaps, but also too, you look at the training and, you know, how young a lot of these, you know, military people are. I think this is going to be a really big training tool for them. And I think that since our generation is a little bit more savvy to technology, they're going to be able to integrate this. Like, it's going to come a little bit easier for them. They're not going to be as foreign to what a metaverse is. You know, they've played video games before, so it might just come that much easier to where somebody who's maybe a little bit older, who's never really kind of been around video games as much, the older generations might have a harder time with this. So I really like that the Air Force is keeping up with the times and using the best technology to, you know, protect everybody and really be on the ball here. I'm for it, to be honest.
Okay, and they usually say Simpsons did it first, but it was Robin
I have to
Williams
step in.
did it first with toys. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to step in.
Were you gonna
Joe,
talk
you're
about
wrong.
toys? Okay.
You're wrong, Joe. It seems to make sense, everything that you said. But I can tell you, after reading all these comments, the younger generation is not on board with Metaverse right now. Now, once it actually begins and people are playing it, obviously, a younger generation will adopt it quicker than, you know, us boomers and beyond. But what I'm telling you all right now is the average young person, I sound like I'm 79 years old right now. I'm actually 39. The average young person out there, they are not seeing value in Metaverse. And they think that it is just a pipe dream. They see Ready Player One, and then they see their Fortnite, and they're like, this Fortnite's much easier to play, or whatever game they're playing. I'm not seeing that reflected. I'm actually seeing like the younger generation be actually like, in a lot of ways, more skeptical, because here's why. The video game generation, or the Generation Z, when it comes to video games, they understand video games. They grasp them already. The older generation, anyone older than me, basically, like I'm kind of the swing pivot point for the video game world. Like Nintendo came out when I was 4 or something like that, you know, the regular NES. Older people than me, like, they don't get it to begin with. So they're like, yeah, I guess it makes sense these whippersnappers will be in the metaverse. Like, yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. Where the younger generation, they're actually active playing video games right now. They don't see the need right now for them to move on to something more advanced. And I even think about when I was a kid, when the Super Nintendo came out, I was skeptical of the Super Nintendo, because even at 7 years old, I was like, I like Nintendo pretty good. Like, why do I really need to do, you know, go to something that's totally different? It's got more buttons and stuff like that. So, you know, I just think that it makes sense that the younger generation would adopt it much quicker. But I'm actually seeing more pushback and vitriol coming from that age group than any other.
Yeah, I think they're brainwashed by the gaming companies because they don't want to give up equity. That's my theory. But let's talk some owls. Who? Deezy said it. Let's talk a little Moonbirds. This is the largest drop that's happened in recent memory, blasting to the tops of the sales. It was 20.6 when we were writing this a couple hours ago. The cheapest owl in the world goes for $61,000. That's the cheapest pixelated owl. Just dropped about 72 hours ago. It's 10,000 pixelated owls. This is a Proof NFT project. Proof, I believe, is around 90 to 100 Ethereum. There's only a few of those. The mint price for this was 2.5 ETH. It basically did almost a 10x, all the way up to 20. So everyone's gained about 17 Ethereum. They took about $66 million in the initial sale, plus millions upon millions upon millions rolling in with the secondary sale volume. I think they get 5%, 2.5%, somewhere around there. Traded over 73,000 ETH on the trading volume. Actually, I want to look. What is the most recent? 77,000 ETH on trading volume. That's a whole lot of Ethereum, people. For reference, it took Bored Ape 4 months to hit 20 ETH. But to be fair, Bored Ape minted for less than 0.1, and this minted at 2.5. So we're seeing a little bit of a difference here. Now, Ben, the Moonbirds team, you know, it's the CEO, founder of Dig. Some people are saying this is a positive because, hey, this guy, he's a CEO. He's ran a tech company. He knows what he's doing. Some people are saying, no, this is a negative. This is just VC founder money. These are all insiders, San Francisco insiders. They don't care about the NFT space. Where do you land on this argument?
Well, I guess on a branch with 2 wings and a neck that can turn
Ooh,
360
ooh.
degrees. How wise. What I was, big fan, Kennesaw State Owls right here in our
Yeah,
backyard.
yeah, KSU. Used
Uh,
to live near there.
this is obviously a VC. I don't want to call it a pump and dump because it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to dump, but this is not normal. I can tell you this, I had never even heard of this. And if I haven't even heard of it, then the fact this is blowing records away, this is wash trading. There is no other question about this. There's absolutely no question. This is wash trading coming from the inside. But that doesn't mean that there's not people in the community that are passionate about it and do believe that this is all legit. But the fact that this is coming at a time, excuse me, this is coming at a time where crypto is down considerably. NFT interest has been waning. We've got some blue chippers. We're looking for more blue chippers, but this one coming out of the blue, it sounds like a big hoot to me. So that's my first reaction. Not knowing anything, more about it, I would say that there's definitely something afoul here.
Okay, you ended it pretty strong. On that note, you're saying it's possible. There are some very, very high trades. People are offering 50. This one sold for 130. I can't really slide it over too much. Sold for 130. This sold for 80 ETH. This sold for 135
If
ETH.
that doesn't say something's not right here, I've got a bridge to know where to sell you.
All right. Well, Forrest, we're looking at some pretty crazy prices here. What do right now the base is around $50,000. What do you think is a good risk reward strategy when you're thinking about, you're a whale, you're thinking about buying this $50,000 NFT? What do you look at as a risk reward ratio here?
Yeah, I mean, at these levels, it's a no-go for me. Now, obviously, if I was sitting on 5 owls right now, I'd probably be like, hey, yeah, it's the next biggest thing. This is great. I'm not speaking negatively about my integrity, but you have that confirmation bias when you own something, right? We have to all own it. Our bags, we're always all going to think highly of our bags. Otherwise, why would we have bought them in the first place? So while it's great for the people that minted these things at 2.5 ETH and now they're 20 ETH, I have no reason to believe that the risk to reward on these owls, Moonbirds, is in any way, shape, or form like conducive or incentivizing people to buy. I say that because out of all the 10,000 PFP projects in the world, how many of them were profitable if you bought them at 20 ETH? And of the ones that were profitable, if you bought them at 20 ETH, what kind of return did you get? So CryptoPunks, if you bought them at 20 ETH, you made money. Bored Apes, if you bought them at 20 ETH, you made money. Those are the only two 10K PFP projects I can think of. With CryptoPunks, the floor is sitting around like 63 ETH now, so you got a nice 3x. With Bored Apes, I think it's like 100, 110 ETH probably. It could be off on that. Haven't checked in a while, but you got a 5x. There are lower, in my opinion, there are lower risk 3 to 5x opportunities in the market. Why go with the hot new thing that's just completely blown up? Why FOMO in when there's a lot of room to come down, especially since it's only been at 20 ETH for like a day or two now. It hasn't held 20 ETH for like 3 months. If it had held 20 ETH for 3-4 months, all right, let's examine this a little bit closer. But I don't see any need to FOMO in right now.
So it's not a long enough wingspan of time here. Not long enough. Okay, anyways, all right,
Exactly.
Mac, I know some of your hatchlings. That's what I'm calling your incubator people, by the way. What do you have a real name? Am I insulting them by calling them the hatchlings?
Let's call them the hatchlings.
We'll call them the hatchlings. So I know some of your hatchlings got in on this drop. I don't think you were in on the mint. Did you feel any FOMO or, what is something that you would look for when you're thinking about, maybe buying this? Because at first, after it went 2.5, immediately catapulted to 7 ETH essentially. So, I was looking at it. I didn't really have the ETH line around, but it was on my radar. I was thinking, hey, I think this is a good opportunity. I don't have it like that, so I didn't jump in. But, what goes through your mind when you're looking at a hot drop like this?
First, if you can get in early, you join the ability to get on the mint list. So yeah, a number of people in the incubator got it, which is great to see when their entire life has changed because people were telling them about a drop. So they made 60K effectively overnight. Of course, they don't make it until they sell it, right? And I've held NFTs up to 20 ETH and then held them back down. So so that's just an important note that these things can change quickly. Obviously, I think that goes without saying, being that it's a pixelated bird or owl. But yeah, I think coming into this, right, to Forrest's point, right, about stabilization and being able to kind of, for these NFT projects to start delivering, I think this is not necessarily a change, but kind of an indication of where NFTs are going. And this is something that I firmly believe. I think NFTs are a way for companies to raise capital for a startup business. And that's what they are. I know in the beginning of the market, right, it was really just these pixelated images and things like that. But now it's coming more to this business oriented. And when you see Kevin Rose, he has a background of building out valuable startups and valuable businesses. So from a VC standpoint, traditionally, you like to invest in founders that have found previous projects rather than first founders. So I think this is basically, the headline shouldn't read NFT. It should read that company raises $75 million through NFTs for their new startup. Like, that is what it's a new vehicle for raising capital. And I think this may be the route that a lot of companies go instead of traditional Series A, B, C, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm actually, for what it's worth, I'm pretty bullish on the founder, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this hit 30, although 30 for 10,000 is a lot. But look at Bored Apes. Now, final question here before we wrap it up. Joe, do you think it's possible for them to deliver value? Is it possible for it to be worth 50,000 after just 1 or 2 days? Like, is there anything in the world that could say, yeah, 10,000 of them, they're worth 50,000 just out the gate?
I mean, I think that the market has spoken, right? I mean, they are what they are right now, right? That does not mean that it's going to last up there forever, but they did get pumped up there, and they're sitting at 50,000 a pop. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go against Ben a little bit, feed him a little bit of his own medicine here. And I don't know if there's wash trading, but the volume is insane. And when you really do see, you know, you could say this for a lot of projects, and people will say to me, don't worry about the volume, don't worry about the volume. But this project has come out of nowhere, like you said. It also has some really unique things going for it. There's something called nesting. And what they're trying to do is, if there's any of these Moonbirds that go underneath the floor price, they're going to scoop those things up. And the fact that it did get minted at 2.5, and like you said, rocketed all the way up to 7.5 ETH, that right there is just going to give you more volume, right? And then you got people trading these things all the way up to 20, you know, ETH, where it's at right now. You're going to just get more volume that way. So to me, the thing that I really do like about the project too is that they don't have a whole lot of information. I know that that might scare a lot of investors, but they're not making these crazy promises to people. They're like, here's what it is, this is where it's at, and we're gonna see what happens, and we're gonna let it go from there. So to me personally, I did talk about this one in my VIP class. I do think it's a little overvalued at the moment, but personally, you know, it could potentially be a new blue chip. So definitely keep your eyes wide.
All right, and we're gonna end it with 2 chats here both from Punani. MacNCheeasy looking like he has an owl under his hat. Oh, we don't know. We haven't seen underneath the hat. And those owls got to be wash trading by the Fed. They resemble Janet Yellen way too much. Oh, he went there. Jeez, that's what he said. I didn't say that. But that is all we got time for. And it looks like Joe just passed Ben there at the end, serving up some of his own medicine there. And Joe, take us away.
Well, thanks, DZ, Ben, the BitSquad. Really appreciate being here as always. Make sure to follow MacNCheeasy, Forrest, and give this video a big, big thumbs up. And always just having fun here with the entire BitSquad and Ben. So looking forward to be back on the show, and everyone have a great night.
All right, and that's all we got time for, BitSquad. Make sure you go have yourselves a hoot out there. Meta Money, Frankie Candles, NFT Alpha.